Hello everyone, my name is Webb. I'm here today to tell you that you are fabulous. And right now, I'm gonna tell Jesus Christ to step aside because I'm about to tell all of you the greatest story ever told. So, as you all know, I was born with one lung and scoliosis. And in high school, I actually had to wear a scoliosis brace. So boys were not thrilled by me. They didn't want to touch me. One of the guys in my choir class actually told me one time, it's really cool. You can do everything we can, even though you're super fucked up. So I didn't have the confidence to be with boys or ask out a guy, and none of them were certainly asking me out either. So I really didn't have my first romantic kiss till I was 19 years old. And I met the guy on Scruff. And Scruff is a gay dating app like Grindr. And I was 19 and he was actually 45. And before we get into the story, I want to tell you what a gay twink and a gay daddy is. Okay, Wikipedia explains both of these gay slang terms to perfection. So, I am a gay twink. And a gay twink is slang for a young man in his teens to early 20s whose traits may include general physical attractiveness, little to no body or facial hair, a slim to average build, and a youthful appearance that may belie an older chronological age. So that is me. That's how I describe myself on the gay dating app. There we go. Now, this man that I had sex with was 45, like I said, and he described himself as a daddy. And a daddy in the gay culture is described as, a daddy in gay culture is a slang term, meaning typically an older man sexually involved in a relationship or wanting sex with a younger male. The age gap may differ, but the relationship involves the traditional parental hierarchy of father-son dynamics, the daddy providing emotional support and guidance, along with sexual encouragement and nurturing to the inexperienced and vulnerable partner. Have you ever heard more beautiful words? Anyway, I'm already flossing, okay? I haven't even met the guy. This was in 2015, and at the time, I was in Aspen Community Theater's production of Beauty and the Beast. I played the role of LeFou, and I kept having to go up to Aspen for rehearsal, because I live in Glenwood Springs. We talked a little bit and chatted, and we decided to meet in September. This was right after I got the role, so very early on rehearsal, but I went up to Aspen to meet him, and we actually had coffee at the Hotel Jerome. And the Hotel Jerome is one of those places, 5-star hotel, $1,000 a night rooms. When you go there, people open the doors for you. They follow you around with cocktails and food, saying, do you want anything to eat or drink? So we have coffee, and it's great. We get to know each other. And when I actually see him, he said, meet me at the bar. Okay, so I go to the bar. I don't see him there, but then he turns the corner. He is very, just like his picture. And just like he said, thank God. He was very Mr. Big from Sex and the City. Chris Noth plays the role of Mr. Big on that show, and it was very much like him. This guy was 6'4" and 215 pounds. That was his total celebrity doppelganger. He looked a lot like him, black hair, very businessman, the whole 9 yards. And right when I saw him and I shook his hand with a really firm handshake, I was like, oh my gosh. Right away, I had that Kylie Minogue song, Love at First Sight, playing on repeat in my head. Right away. And so we had coffee. It was great and everything. And then we kept talking for a couple months. And then in November, after one of the matinee performances of the show, he actually asked me to come to his house. And he was really smooth about it. He was like, I just live at the top of the hill. You could just come to my house and I can make you dinner. I was like, okay. So I drive, you guys, up this hill, okay. And he literally lives at the top of a hill in Aspen. Okay, this is like a 6,000 square foot home, 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms. When I drove up to the house, I felt like I was in a Nancy Meyers film, like Something's Gotta Give or The Holiday, very fancy. I had never been in a home like this. I was like, oh my gosh, where am I right now? Even from the outside, I was like, oh boy. So I get out of the car and walk up like the rock stepway to his front door. And there's like these rock pillars on either side of his doorway and this huge wood door. We had actually talked about first kisses and first experiences with men and the whole thing on our first date. And I said I had never had one. I'd never really kissed a guy or had sex before. And he said his first experience with a man was absolutely awful. This man literally dedicated the night to me from the second I walked in the room to the second I left. So he opens the door. He says, can I take your coat and everything? I was like, sure, thank you. And he's like, do you want anything to drink? And I was like, oh, water. I mean, I was 19. So I was like, oh, water and everything. That's fine. I walk into his house. He's going to go get me water. And oh my gosh, the inside's even more beautiful than the outside. There's like a black grand piano in the left-hand corner of the room. If I look straight forward, there was one of those long, huge, kind of like Beauty and the Beast tables, you know, that you sit on either side of in one of those, like a really rich house that you see. He had South African art on the walls. He started a real wood burning fire. Like right away, I feel like I'm in a movie. So he gets me a water and he puts it in a martini glass and garnishes it with a lime. In the drink, he put like I said, the lime in it, but it had the tag still on it. And when the lime flipped over, like it was in the water, and I didn't care. Like I would have drank it. I didn't care at all. But he looked at it and he's like, oh my gosh, did I just like really do that to you? Here, wait, let me get you another water. And he picks it up and he runs to get me a new one. Now this guy's really manly, like man's man, not like me at all, not girly, you know. So to see a 45-year-old man act like this, or he's like trying to do good or wanting to impress me, was really, really cute. I was like, oh my gosh, so sweet. First, after, you know, we chat a little bit, he makes me like this crab salad appetizer thing. And we sit at the long, you know, Beauty and the Beast table. But we sit next to each other. We don't sit on either side of each other. And we have great conversation and everything. And then he makes me fish dinner. It was like halibut or trout, I think. And there was like asparagus and rice. And he garnished that too. And it was just very fancy and very good and great conversation and everything. And his stories, okay, this is, here's where our lives were different. Our conversations were fun. I wouldn't say he bragged about his life, but his life was very different from mine. So for instance, I asked him like, you know, where he's from, or he said he was from California. He said he went to Stanford for college. He said his mom was an ambassador to the United Nations. His dad was an attorney. They primarily lived in Washington, D.C. The whole family of his had a timeshare in Italy. This man owned a home in South Africa. The house we were in was owned by him and his siblings. He spent 5 years in South Africa actually helping people and working with people who were living with HIV. That's what he did for 5 years. And so I asked him, like, what kind of work do you do? And he said, oh, I'm an entrepreneur and I owned a jean company and I sold it and all. And I was like, well, you know, I love celebrities. I love pop culture. I just asked him, like, do you know any like famous people? He's like, yeah, mostly business people. I have, though, met Hilary Swank, and I did go to the Oscars once because one of my boyfriends produced the film Boys Don't Cry. I was like, okay. He's like, and I took guitar lessons from a guy you probably don't know. His name's Neil Diamond. I was like, oh my gosh. Okay, like he was one of the greatest singer-songwriters of all time. I was like, oh boy. And he's like, yeah, and my ex-boyfriend was really good friends with David Burkta, you know, Neil Patrick Harris's husband. And we went over to his house in Los Angeles, Neil Patrick Harris's and David Burkta's house. And we played charades and I like whipped their asses and everything. And I was like, oh, okay. And, you know, he just kept going and going. And then he's like, tell me one of your stories. And I was like, oh boy. At the time I met this man, you know, I had never been out of the country. I had never met a celebrity like this or anything. And so, and not to say I had a very fortunate, wonderful life, knock on wood, so lucky. But his life was just so much different than mine. You know, my parents didn't have a life like this, my grandparents, none of my friends. So I was like, oh boy. I mean, all I knew really how to do when I met him, okay, I knew how to act, sing, dance, throw up, and fart. So that's what I had accomplished so far when I met him. And he, you know, he said, tell me a story. And I said, oh, I went to Hawaii for my high school graduation. Like, I didn't really know what to say. Like, I had barely graduated high school because I was really bad at math and science. It was not my forte. You know, he never put me down or anything, but it was just like, oh boy, this is interesting navigating this. And then after dinner, we got back on the couch and he said, so what do you think about gun control? It's like, oh boy. And the Syrian refugee crisis in Syria. And I was like, okay, well, I had read Time magazine for the past 5 years before I met him. I read it quite a bit. So I knew what he was talking about and I could keep up with him, but it was, like I said, just really intimidating. So I was like, oh boy, what do I do? And then I was like, you know what, Webb? What would our Kardashian do? And then I was like, well, and Webb, you have to remember, you have the body of a 19-year-old twink. You can do this. Just ask him to kiss you. So I started twirling my hair and I was like, I've never had an experience. And he says to me, do you want one? And I said, yes. And he got on top of me on the couch. I was like, oh, okay, well, that was simple. And okay, I'm starting to freak out because, you know, I had kissed a girl like in a play or on a dare or under the mistletoe, but I certainly never kissed a guy and it was never like a romantic thing. So he starts kissing me and I'm like, oh boy. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And he just looks at me and said, if you're having a good time, I'm having a good time, okay? And so we keep going and he takes his shirt off. Now, you know, he definitely worked out. Definitely worked out. He had a little bit of a dad bod, but you know, he's 45. Things change. I thought it was sexy. Keeps going and everything. And then I ask him to pick me up because I knew he could do it. So he picks me up like in a hug and I wrap my legs around him and he's still kissing my lips and he's kissing my neck. And he walks me from the living room toward the front door, down the stairs, and then turns left, up the stairs towards his bedroom. And he's still holding me. He stops on the first landing of the stairs. You could see the reflection of him holding me underneath the chandelier from the window by the front door. And I was just like, oh my gosh, you just take your time. I'm in heaven right now. Like, it didn't even faze him. He could have held me like that forever. So I was like, I mean, a tidal wave could have hit us and he'd still be holding me. Oh, I felt so safe and already so beautiful. I was like, oh boy. So we get to his room. You guys, there's this huge white bed. There's like vaulted wood ceiling. His bathroom was like as big. You know, it was like huge and it was like something you see at an Architectural Digest. I was like, where am I? You could see the snow-capped Aspen Mountains outside his sliding glass door. I was like, wow. It was November at the time, so it was definitely cold and everything. And so we get on the bed and keep fooling around. All right. Let me just reiterate this once again. He topped and I bottomed, okay? Because it's like St. Bernard and Chihuahua, okay? St. Bernard, Chihuahua doesn't hump the St. Bernard. St. Bernard wraps his arms around me, honey. First thing we did was I got on top and it felt great and everything. It felt, you know, nice and he was very gentle. But then he says to me, lay on your stomach. And I was like, oh my God. Oh boy, this man is going to destroy me. Like height and shoe size matters. And so he dims the lights. And so it's like very romantic lights. And, but you could still very much see each other. And so I get on my stomach, and he comes back, and he doesn't even actually though enter me. He very gently just lays his body on me, wraps his arms, links him in my hands and starts to kiss my neck. And my face and everything. It's just very gentle and he does this for quite a while. I've gotten goosebumps. I'm like, oh my gosh, who is this man? Turns me over, gives me a kiss and everything. He's like, you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. And keep going. It's great and everything and wonderful. And then toward the end of having sex with him, he pulls me to the side of the bed and he's like standing up next to it and like, you know, gets me and everything and then leans over like missionary position and makes out with me like crazy, puts my arms around his back, goes to town on me, the whole 9 yards. And then he would slow down and he'd open his eyes and he would just look at me and very gently would just brush his beard against my lips. Cut to me with both my heads exploding. But in all seriousness, you guys, okay, so we finish up. This man had just pleasured me for about an hour, okay? We get in the shower. I looked like I had a fucking coat hanger in my mouth. I was smiling like the biggest smile emoji ever. I was, and he had this smirk on his face. He's like, look what I just did. Look what I just did. I have this young man wrapped around my finger. I get in the shower, kissing, great and everything, blah, blah, blah. Come back out, cuddle on the bed, and he like spoons me. But he's so tall or taller than me, that my butt's like at his stomach when he spoons me. So if I just turn over, boom, lay on his chest, we got it. So it was cute and cuddle and everything. And then one thing he did I really don't like and I can't do, he smoked cigarettes. Ugh, gross. So thankfully he doesn't smoke in the house. So it didn't smell like smoke in the house. Yay. Sometimes he said he would smoke by his real wood burning fire because then you can't smell it and everything. But when he told me that, I was like, no, you're going outside. Like, I can't. I think it's a horrendous habit. I can't have you do that. And he actually told me, are you kicking me out of my own house? I said, yeah, I am. I'm sorry. We're at 9,000 feet almost. And I'm sorry it's really cold out there. But yeah, no. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm a bitch. I just can't. He went to go outside and smoke, and I went downstairs to get my phone. And I came back upstairs, and I was just in my underwear, and he was like in this like blue shirt and sweatpants and everything. Once again in his arms and just laying on his chest and looking at him and said, oh my gosh, thank you so, so much for this amazing first time. This really meant a lot to me. I have never felt beautiful, in my life. I mean, to feel this way is just the best. My, of course, my mom and my grandma told me I look good, but this really smart, handsome, successful man, thought I was sexy, and I was just, whoosh. Every time I think of him, I smile really big because it's like that beautiful feeling is like hits me like a strike of lightning. So thanking him, of course. And I give him 3 quick kisses, and then he says to me, you want ice cream? Oh my gosh, it's like hitting another home run. I was like, of course. The daddy offers the young man ice cream after sex. Let me tell you, I was like Peter Cottontail hopping down that bunny trail down those stairs. And we had ice cream. It was like this chocolate fudge, Heath bar, crunch, whatever. And it was probably like 11 o'clock at night, and we were sitting next to each other, watching TV a little bit, having our ice cream. But then I did have to go. I had to leave because it was actually, oh my God, I'm going to hell, you guys. It was my mom's birthday. And I told her I was at Belle's house playing Cards Against Humanity, not at this man's house. So, yeah. So they didn't know the truth at the time, so I actually did have to go. So I was like, sorry, I have to go, So he walked me through the front door, and I'm putting on my shoes, and he says, all right, give me a hug. And I gave him a hug, and I stood my little tiptoes and gave him a kiss and everything. And I went home, and while driving home, I was like, oh my God, I can't feel my hands. I mean, it was just like, whoa, what just happened from my high school experience to now? This was my very first kiss and the very first time I had sex. I was flossing. The whole night. Let me tell you something about this man. If I was a singer, songwriter like Taylor Swift, I would write a song about this night. And let me tell you, song wouldn't just get me on Time Magazine's 100 most influential people in the world. It'd get him on the list too, honey. Uh-oh. Like the next morning, I got up, and you know that scene from 500 Days of Summer where like it's the morning after Joseph Gordon-Levitt has sex with Zooey Deschanel? That was like it. I was, like dancing to You Make My Dreams Come True by Hall & Oates. I was listening to the song on repeat. I Think I'm in Love by Jessica Simpson. Like, I was in love. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the man of my dreams. I started telling everyone this story. And about a month later, I saw him again. We had lunch. And a couple days after this night, probably about a week after, of course, my whole family knew the truth of where I really was on November 8th, 2015. My mom said, honey, this man did a very nice thing for you. He invited you to his house, he made you dinner, and he gave you a great first sexual experience. He was very sweet to you, so you buy him lunch. You have a job. So we went to lunch. We had Mexican food, and I did buy him lunch. I also bought some to-go food for his other family members because it was like mid-December of 2015, and he had family in town. So he had to go back and feed them. So we got food for them, but I paid for it. And he was very, he said, oh my gosh, it's very generous of you. Thank you so much. Because I think that when wealthy people, when they're with other people and they know they're wealthier than them, they're always like expected to pay. But it was a really good tip from mom. So thank you for that. And so I recapped for him at the restaurant of what I just recapped to you, of saying what an amazing first experience. I turned his face beet red. He was blushing like crazy. You could tell his face was on fire. He said, wow, you know how to make a man feel really good. I'm like, yes, score. So that was fun and sweet and everything. But then when we were saying our see you laters, I kind of made the mistake of inviting myself over to his house. Like I said, this was November 2015. In June of 2016, I had already had plans to move to Los Angeles. Everyone knew about it. My whole family, all my friends. He knew about it, the whole 9 yards. So when we were there, I said, I'll be your friend, but honey, I can't be with you as a boyfriend. He's like, you're too young. You're just way too young. And I understood. And I was crushed. So like he let me down very easy, broke my heart very easily, very sweetly. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I get it and everything. And the funny thing is that not only were I listening to love songs the next day about him, but I had this whole vision that, I'd marry this man. My mom actually makes this really good Italian sausage spaghetti sauce. And I envisioned us, me living with him in this house. He had an Aspen and cooking it for a Sunday night dinner and watching football with him as our adopted daughter sleeps on his chest, as a baby. And I'm on the ground in front of the couch that he's laying on playing solitaire. And we have two Bichon Frisés in the corner. And our daughter grows up to be Miss Universe and president, the whole 9 yards, the whole cute doggies on their big dog pads, the whole thing. And of course, me living my life through my daughter as Miss Universe and president. But yeah, of course, when I saw him the next day, it did not go that way. But anyways, we're saying see you later. And I said, before I move to Los Angeles, can I spend the whole night with you? And he said, yeah. He's like, that could happen maybe. He's like, don't worry, little guy. Like, it'll all work out. Like, blah, blah, blah. And he just really didn't seem into it. And I was like, And I think it's because he knew I was in love with him. Like, he knew I was. And he just didn't want me to get attached. So he was trying to standoffish, And so I was like, So I went home. And my mom's like, how'd it go? Actually invited myself over to his house so I could spend the night with him. And she said, honey, okay, first of all, you stupid bitch. I asked you to go pay for lunch for him because he did a nice thing for you. But then what you did was, yeah, you paid for lunch for him, but then you invited yourself over to his house so he can cook dinner for you and then have sex with you. I never taught any of you or your siblings to invite yourself over to someone's house. She said, wait for him to text you or call you. If he texts you and calls you and wants that to happen, it'll happen. But don't text him first. So that next 6 months before I moved to Los Angeles, he never texted or called me. And she said, honey, there's your answer. Here's a lesson you're going to learn. She's like, were you always texting and calling him first? And I said, yes. And she said, well, yeah, he may respond, and that's really sweet and everything, but do not chase men. It is 50-50, 50-50, especially between two men, that he's texting you and calling you just as much as you're texting and calling him. Do not chase men. You're too good for it. Those are one of the best lessons I've ever learned from that whole experience. And I'm really thankful for my mom. She's amazing. She's a Montessori school teacher. She is just stellar. So that was a great thing to learn at that age. I did end up seeing him a year and a half later in March, again in Aspen. We went to lunch again and we just talked it out. And I apologized for inviting myself over to his house. And he was really sweet. I haven't talked to him in over 3 years, so I don't know where he is at the moment. But I just feel, I knew if I texted or called him, he would respond, but it just feels like I'm bothering him. You just don't do that, you know? He has to try a little bit to be in my life too. He made me feel beautiful, the whole 9 yards. So I was very lucky to have him. And actually, I was supposed to move to Los Angeles the year before, but didn't end up going because I went to go look at apartments and we just didn't feel like it was the right time and everything. So I didn't move. And actually, I was really sad about it. I was like, there's no guy here for me, blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm never going to find anyone. But then I found him in the Roaring Fork Valley where I lived. So everything happens for a reason. I totally believe I was meant to meet him. And a huge thank you to him because he treated me with the utmost love and respect. And I actually made 2 girls cry telling this story. And one of them said, honey, he gave you a tremendous gift. You're going to have amazing sex for the rest of your life because he taught you exactly how you should be treated. And if you're with another man and they don't treat you the way he treated you, walk away immediately. And so another great lesson I learned. And also 2 other lessons. I know I'm rambling, you guys, but I need to get this out there. 2 other lessons I learned were number 1, 2, or 3. I don't know what lesson we're on, but a big one was that night we had sex, he went the whole night without a hitch. Like he was so smooth, the whole 9 yards, fabulous. Me on the other hand, not so much. During the middle of sex, I actually asked to get my phone. I'm talking, guys, like 30 minutes into this, you know, changing positions, doggy style, me on all fours, him about to enter me looking behind myself and saying, can I go get my phone? He said, no. And now I realize what I just did there because then, you know, moments over, I have to run downstairs. His erection is gone. Sexy moments over. I was like, oh, what a ratchet millennial thing to say. I'm such a stupid bitch. So yeah, don't do that. And the other lesson, everyone, was to make sure you pleasure your partner in bed too. This was a big mistake I made with the second guy I was with. When I was with him, he like wanted me to pleasure him and I was like, wait, what the fuck is this? The first time I was with a guy, he just pleasured me. This isn't sex. What's going on? And my mom said, honey, not only is it 50-50 outside the bedroom, but it's 50-50 inside the bedroom. You have to, you know, pleasure them too, make them feel good. So that was the other lesson, really hard lesson that I had to learn. Because my girlfriends, especially at the, where I work at the brew pub, they were all like, honey, it's never gonna be like that again. Sex will never be that great because you had sex and he just pleasured you the whole time. So that's, honey, sorry. But anyway, I learned that lesson too, and it was a great lesson to learn. So remember, 50-50, guys. It really, truly was the greatest first experience I think I've ever had. I've told hundreds of people this story. Anyone I meet, I tell this story to. And what I want to know from each and every one of you is, have you had a better first kiss than this? And have you had a better first experience, sexual experience? Because none of my friends or anyone I know says my first experience didn't even come close. I mean, this man truly saved my life. He's my Superman. He's like my Jack Dawson from Titanic. So, as always, everyone out there, please like, comment, and share this video. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Turn on those bell notifications to get reminders about new videos. And follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I'll see you next Friday.